Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. This is the show in which I celebrate artists and their body of worth. I've done a little research, and I was thinking back to how long I've known Mary Callanan. And I think that we met, we'll talk about this a little later, in 2002. So I've heard many great songs over the years. I've seen many great performances. We know her from Broadway with Bandstand, Mamma Mia. And the last time I saw her was when she was appearing in Annie on Broadway. And tonight, I'm very excited to be celebrating her. I was thinking also today that it's been 188 days since the pulse of the entertainment world came to a screeching halt. Cabarets, theaters, film production. And not only is it the people on stage, but it's all the people around the scenes. So tonight, I want you all to know that I'm thinking of all of you. I celebrate all of you. But tonight, we're going to celebrate especially Mary Callanan. And before we start with Mary, I would like to take you back to the cabaret. Now imagine we're all sitting tonight at Studio 54, 54 below, and we're waiting for the one, the only Mary Callanan to hit the stage.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, it's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along. Yes, it's a good day. How could anything go wrong? A good day from morning till night. Yes, it's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Everything to gain and nothing to lose, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. You know you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing, and you got the right of way. Yes, it's a good day for paying your bills, and it's a good day for losing your bills. So take a deep breath and throw away the pills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Bandstand at 54 Below. My name is Mary Callanan, and I'll be your host for tonight's festivities. So sit back, relax, and let's raise some money for Gut Your Six. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. You know you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing, and you got the right of way, 'cause it's a good day for paying your bills. It's a good day for losing your ills. So take a deep breath, throw away your pills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. A good day from morning till night. Good day from morning till night.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mary Callanan. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Richard. How are you? It's so good to be here.
Well, I'm doing great.
Good.
Before we get to the talent,
Oh.
I have to ask you, who were you wearing?
Oh, for goodness sakes. Of course, always and forever, I was wearing a David Joseph outfit.
Don't we both love him?
Well, you know, he makes a girl look good.
And a few guys, too, I will say
I'm just
that.
saying. Have you received your T-shirt yet?
I
sure
haven't
it's on its way.
received my T-shirt yet,
Don't worry,
but
I'm
I'm
sure it's
looking
coming.
forward to that. I'll be more than happy to wear, a David Joseph creation around the house.
Yes, or a mask.
So I want to ask you, Mary,
Yes.
in the midst of this crazy world that we
Yeah.
find ourselves in, I begin every show by asking all of our guests, how are you doing really?
Really,
Yeah.
it you try to do the silver lining playbook at all times. I was working. I was out on the national tour of My Fair Lady when we got
Mhm.
furloughed. So the good part of that is I've been able to be home and spend time with my husband, which I don't usually get to do
And
because
you two like each other?
well, we still do. So that's really two thumbs up for COVID for
You know,
us.
it's so funny because right after this all happened, there were a gay couple,
Uh-huh.
and it was on page 6 of the New York Post. And this was 51 days into this. Now we've been at 188.
Oh,
But
sure.
they said we can't live together anymore, so they separated.
Well,
And
there's all kinds of things from Italy and from China that the divorce rate but they had to stay together. But that doesn't happen in this house, at least.
no,
So,
that's really
yeah.
wonderful.
So that the not so silver lining is, of course, unemployment isn't nearly what we were making when we were making money,
Mhm.
and showing that video, which I haven't seen pretty much since we did that one, brings back so many fabulous memories because, of course, that was the night I met Rob Schneider, who,
Wow.
yeah, who saw, because I wasn't really supposed to host that through a series of events. I ended up being the host of the Bandstand cabaret that you just saw.
Mhm.
And Rob's like, now, who might you be? And I said, oh, I love doing this. I'll do this anytime, just call me. And he did. And so that opened a whole new stretch of working at 54 Below for me, which
No,
I
I mean,
miss terribly.
well, you've done both cabaret. That's how you and I originally met
Indeed.
at Cabaret Fest. John O'Neill and Valerie Sneed
Yep.
booked me in my other life in
Exactly.
2002.
Yeah.
And that was, first of all, let's talk a little bit about
2002, and you still look exactly the same. So that's
it's
not
the
right.
lighting. Thank God for
It's
ring
the
lighting.
yeah.
No, but let's talk a little bit about Provincetown and the magic and what it's like. I remember the first time that I went to Provincetown was in the 80s.
Mhm.
And I went with someone that I was seeing at the time. And we went, and every single night we were at a different show, a different restaurant. And we were there during Carnival Week, which is
Oh,
an
wow.
incredible time to be there.
Yes.
And I said, oh my God, this is something I have to have someday
Yeah.
because the energy that was there is unbelievable. Talk about the energy. And I know that you're going to be performing in Provincetown coming up.
Yes.
So I
One of
want
the other silver linings about this is that I get to perform again in Provincetown, a place that I love that is indeed magical, with a man that I love who is indeed magical. And so we're going back to the Crown and Anchor, where we first started our career back in 2002. And we're doing a show called Full Circle because why?
we've come
So,
full, and we're both here. We're still here.
and we're all still here. Yes. As a matter of fact, you talk about that particular cabaret fest.
Was that the first one? I think it was.
I'm going to say sure.
Okay.
I think it was.
Okay.
I believe it was. If it not, it was the first one I went to.
Okay.
And as it turned out, Brian Patton, who is the man that I love, my musical partner in life, for life, we happened to be playing together, and the owner of the Crown and Anchor saw us and liked us and hired us. And then we worked in Provincetown in various clubs for the next 12 seasons.
That's great.
So it is a magical place. And I pretty much, my whole trajectory since then, including Broadway, I found my first agent they came into the club, first casting director, first a director, all just happened in at one time or another to a show that Brian and I were doing. And, my running joke is, it's so hackney, but are you anybody? Are you a producer? Are you a director? If not, I really was on my way to the ladies' room. So if you could just, I'll get your request in a minute. And they were like, no, actually, we are. And so then I crossed my legs and listened to
It's
that
like that
pitch.
moment from A Star Is Born where Judy Garland says, "My benefactor appeared with his card." And at first I thought he was fresh.
But it was. Yes. And actually so in a way, in a Provincetown version of Judy Garland in A Star Is Born, that happened to me.
That is an
So,
amazing story.
yes.
And let's talk a little bit about Brian. I also have had the good fortune to work with him.
Isn't he the
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. If you're listening, Brian, I love you madly. And I want to see you in the seat one of these days. But how did you and Brian meet?
Well, that goes back even further in you and I, even further than my husband and I. We met in college, and I poached him. He would like everyone to know that he is just a little bit younger than I. And I was walking past a rehearsal cube, and I heard someone playing something that wasn't, as they used to drill into our heads, legitimate music. And I just opened the door and said, "Oh, you're playing Gershwin." And, sat down and we started singing, and literally that's how it happened.
That's an amazing story. Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's a long time too.
So what's the secret? What's the secret? If you find someone that you work with for so many years, it's a marriage.
Absolutely.
It's a relationship. But what is it about Brian and you that creates such magic?
I truly think we finish each other's, if not real sentences, certainly our musical sentences, our musical ideas. There is absolutely something to be said for rehearsing a show until it shines like the top of the Chrysler Building.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also something to be said for jumping off and knowing that Brian is the net, and there's nothing that we can't do or try, because we just know by looking at each other where we're going to go. And 92% of the time we're correct. And so, we like a good rehearsal too, but the magic is in the freedom that we give each other, knowing that the other person is going to hit the ball back, if I may use a sports analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to catch what he's playing. He's always going to catch what I'm thinking. And it's just worked for all these years. Like you say, it's a marriage. So we have to work at it, the other parts of it. But once the curtain is open, if you will, we really are very symbiotic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've worked with other men, and I've enjoyed all my
Do you
other
feel like
trips.
you're cheating when you work with other men?
And I certainly feel that Brian is cheating, except when he cheated with Marilyn May. That was totally fine.
Yeah, that's always
But,
acceptable.
you got to let them go, Richard. It's one of the, the 10, if you know what I mean, the list of 10. But I love working with other guys, but it's work.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrific work, and the art is still beautiful. But there's something about Brian that while we are still working, people have said to us, "You just make it look so easy." And
you do.
Well, thank you very much. My favorite kind of quote like that, and I hope I'm whatever, was Jim Caruso and Billy Stritch were on the bill. We were all four of us were on the bill at the same time.
Now that's a good bill to be on.
Oh, it was a pretty good bill to be on. And we did our set, then they did their set, and we were hanging around after. And Jimmy said, "Wow, you guys do just what we do." And I said, "Yeah, but you make more money." But, he was...
And everyone knows that in cabaret we make
There is we're just loaded. But I think what he was saying is, they are very polished and complete stars. And whenever I run into Jim or Billy, I get... I know we're all in the same boat, but, maybe they're upstairs a little bit. But it was very nice of them to say, "Wow, you guys, you have it as well," because they have it. If your listeners have been to Cast Party, they have it. They
And
also
they
have a
haven't even
shorthand.
virtually,
Yes, and even virtually, yeah.
Pajama Cast Party. Jim Cruz
Yes.
was the best at what he does.
Oh, he really
Billy's the
is.
best at what he does, and you're the best at what you do.
Yes, and
You
so
know,
there's room for us all.
that's and you know, and that's one of the things that I find uh, that those that succeed in this business
Mhm.
are the ones who think that way. That think that there is room for all of us. You know what you do, you know what your strong points are, you know what your weak points are, if there are any, and then you go down that path, and that's what it's all about. But do you still live in Boston or in the Boston
Well,
area?
right now I do. I mean, I gave up my New York apartment to go on tour.
Mhm. And are you originally from
I am.
Boston?
I'm from Boston. Born and
And
raised.
I want to go back. There's so many areas that I want to touch upon tonight, but let's go back to March 12th was the day that all the theaters shut down.
Mhm.
Had My Fair Lady already opened on the road, or were you about?
Oh, yes, we had opened in December. We opened at the Kennedy Center. If you ever have to open a show, you should open it at the Kennedy Center during Christmas and New Year's. But that's
Mm,
another story for another day. And of course, it was a wildly successful tour that was selling out all over the country. And when we got to March, we were in Columbus, Ohio. And we were, ironically, across the street from the State House. And for those of you not catching up on your flow chart, Ohio was the first state to we opened on Tuesday night. We had a sold out run. We were going to be sold out, not a ticket to be had. We got glowing reviews as always because our Shireen Ahmed, our leading lady, and Laird McIntosh are not to be believed. So when we go back on the road, please go see it in a town near you.
knocking on
But
wood.
exactly. But the next morning before the matinee, the governor came on and said, "We are shutting Ohio down." He was the first one. And that was Wednesday morning, and we kind
The
no
matinee
one
day.
was, yes, and we were floating, you know, and our company said if you could just hang out for a couple of days till we figure out if other cities are following suit. And it was wishy-washy. New York, I know, was one thing, but the road was there were other cities that, no, we're fine, come on.
What was that like? Were you
It
quarantined in
was
your room?
terrified. Well, I had an Airbnb, so I had a lovely place to stay.
Okay.
And but the gang was in the rest of the gang that was in the hotel was in a hotel, and but there was no quarantining yet. It was just no show. But as soon as they said no show, and you'd been reading the papers and watching the news,
Mhm.
that I didn't feel like socializing with anyone. I wanted to get home. At this point, people were getting
And
nervous.
when
My
you say
husband,
home, do you mean New York or
well,
Boston?
no, I had given up my place, so
Okay.
I had to go home to my house where
Mhm.
my husband lives, and he was getting progressively more nervous, saying, "Okay, now it's Thursday, now it's Friday. Where are you? Why haven't you left yet?" And we had to wait till our company said, "Yeah, I guess it's," as everybody, back then, "I guess
And
it's bigger
Boston
than
also
we
was a hot
thought."
spot at one point.
I'm sorry?
Boston was also a hot spot at one point.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay.
I just know that as soon as we were in a meeting and they began the speech, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we are shutting down. And I don't remember the next 10 minutes because I picked up my phone and got on, a car rental site. And at 8 o'clock the next morning, I was in a car and drove straight. Actually, that was Brian's birthday. Happy Saturday, 14th. And drove straight home, 12 hours. I stopped for gas once. And all my friends in New England said, "You should stop, excuse me, you should stop and get toilet paper." And I said, What are you talking about?" And I should have,
Mhm.
I should have stopped, but I
Who
wanted to
knew?
get a
I mean,
home and
nobody
hearth.
knew.
Yeah, we didn't know what color this was turning into. And sure enough, we got home and there you have it. And there we sat inside, and I'm forever grateful that my husband has a civilian job, if you will. And so he works from the very spot I'm speaking to you from now, which is otherwise known as the dining room. And
What does your husband do?
Well, he used to be in our business, in the smarter side, a house manager, theater manager, stage manager, and now he is even smarter. He's in the civilian field, so he gets to work from home at a computer. And so I was the only one that would leave the house, and only once every 2 weeks, the whole bit. Somebody's got to go get the groceries and leaving them outside and all the things.
And with this tour of My
Yeah.
Fair Lady, how much time were you scheduled to be in each city that you were going to be traveling?
Depending on the city, 1 week, 2 week, 3 week. When we were playing LA and San Fran, it was 6 weeks. Washington was 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens. They're making, they still have our trunks. They still have our makeup. They still have our costumes. And the road, if whatever the ifs are out there that I wish I had control of, our producers and the cities will come back before Broadway, unfortunately. Because if there's only one Roadhouse, they can try to figure that one. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we'll see. But in the meantime, in between time, Crown and Anchor, October 11th. Come see us at 6 o'clock.
we are definitely going to get there. I'm going to
Oh my God.
here so that everyone can, go to your website because it's right there when you go there.
Yeah.
But of course, no one knows.
No.
Let's just say that you have a crystal ball. Maybe you do. I don't know. But how do you personally anticipate, or how do you see theaters coming back from all of this? Have you even thought about that?
Every time I try to think about it, it hurts. So I try not to. Not theater, but just this week, as a matter of fact, it seems, as far as film and television and audio, podcast, and all of that sort of thing, seems to have come back because I've been getting audition notices, which I haven't been, which was a shock because I didn't know the world was coming back. But that's been good. But and doing some online like this theater, but in-person theater, there's a fabulous place in Cambridge, Massachusetts that has an outside facility. And so they've been doing dance concerts, and out in the Berkshires, I'm sure you saw that they did a, yep. It's too hard to think of. It's too much to think about.
Nobody could have ever imagined anything like this possibly happening. And how are you exercising your artistic or creative muscles during this time?
Oh, did I say vote? Could you vote so we could get our jobs back? That would be terrific. Thanks. I'm done.
I don't want to get political.
I really don't. I'm just saying, I don't care who
No.
Just
I
vote.
want to build upon what you just said.
Yes.
But I was thinking about this the other night, how vitally important it is for us to vote, and to vote. You and I both know where we want to go with this.
Sure.
So that people in the arts can get back to work.
Vote like my life depended on it. Vote like
mine too.
My friends' children and my friends' lovers. Vote like our lives depended on it. Because
and they
do.
They do.
Because this not so terrific unemployment that we get is time sensitive. And it seems like everybody else got to go back to work. But every single night when you're through with your job at your desk, you go in and you watch Netflix, or you watch, YouTube clips of the Tony Awards from 1967. Well, that's us.
That's us.
So
absolutely. Thank you for saying that. It's very, very important that you say that. So how are you exercising those muscles right now?
Because we weren't exercising them at all. And as you know, as a definite artist, you get a little squirrely. You have this fabulous outlet that you have right here, where we don't get to see you shine in your other life, but everybody knows
Mhm.
how you shine in your other life.
Well, thank you for that.
My partner Brian had a recurring piano bar job in Boston that I was not a part of. And then one week he said, I have a little something in my, and all he said was, as soon as I saw his name on the phone, as soon as he said, "Hi, I was wondering," yes. And he said, "You don't know what I'm going to ask you." I said, "I'm hoping I do." And the answer is yes. "Do you want me to come over? I'll wear a mask." And so we worked it out so that, so now every week we do a 1 hour, piano bar. We
Mhm.
ask people to, like everybody else seems to be doing, we ask people to send in requests.
So
And
you're doing this
then
virtually online right now.
we are on Tuesday
Great. And how
nights.
can people find this?
It's on my Facebook page. It's called Tipsy Tuesday
Okay.
because we make a cocktail, and they can't all be home runs. Last night we made a cocktail that was terrible, but
What was the cocktail last night?
it was called, well, ironically, Brian has a great cocktail book from the 40s, and the cocktail was called "In the Cool, Cool, Cool of the Evening." So naturally we made it so we could sing the song. And we played the song while I made the drink, which we make on the piano. The piano's completely covered. So it's like a Today Show segment where we make it and then we drink it, and we usually are like, "That's delicious." And then we sing a song. And we both went, "Okay, well, they can't all
Next
be great." Exactly. So we sang instead.
Promise me that when you do these, that you'll tag me on Facebook.
Oh, I sure will.
My followers can find that
Next-
as well.
Yep.
So I'd love to see that. I want to go back to being on the road. Do you enjoy
Yes.
being on the road?
I do. I'm one of the, you either can be on the road or you can't be on the road.
Mhm.
I mean,
when I was on the road.
you did, right? It's fun. You get to see things, you meet people. It's a wonderful, museums and art installations and coffee shops. And, I used to love to think about it, live music.
Mhm.
So after the show, if there was a band playing or like a hotel that had a Bobby Short type of person, I would always be there. And so and as a matter of fact, in Columbus, we had Monday night off. So 3 of us we got in an Uber and we went like 15 miles out of town. And there was a woman who had to be, I think she was 86.
Wow.
She's a fixture in that area, and she plays every Monday night. And so of course we went, and we spent a lot of money on a steak dinner. And so I did have one, it was funny and it was life affirming, like, good Lord, Richard, I hope we're not still doing this when we're that age, but we could still be we could still be Marilyn May, And so we went to see it, and my cup was filled with that other side of the art. And now that's the side of the art I have, and I want the theater side back so I can fill up that cup. So I have these, where's my hands? So I have these 2 cups that, 2 gas tanks. And when one gets filled, the other one gets empty because it's hard to do both.
Mhm. And you probably have just answered my next question, but how do you unwind after a show? Is that normally how you do it?
Yes, kind of. Well, if I'm on the road, and when I was younger, it was a whole different story. But nowadays, it seems meet up with some of the people in the show and, sit in the lobby and have a tea or a beer or something.
Mhm.
But not like in the good old days. I mean, I toured from my 20s until today. So the best was the Mamma Mia tour, because it was that kind of show anyway. And you left the theater at 11. So if there was a dance club to go to or a band to see, everybody was down for that or up for that. And nowadays it's more like sitting around and playing with people's kids who they brought on tour with, or people's dogs who they have on tour, and playing cards and things like that. But it's still,
It's amazing how it changes, though, isn't it?
funny how time does that.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
What was your upbringing like? Did you grow up in a house with music?
No. I'm the youngest of 7. I have 6 older brothers.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's part of it. We were a sports family. I'm all about competition. I was a champion swimmer, believe it or not. And music, my father was an entertainer. In other words, he didn't do it at all for a living, but if it was somebody's wedding or something, he would get up and he would do some show business.
Hmm.
And my mother always says, you know, your father was good, but I couldn't carry a tune. So my mother really couldn't sing, but my father couldn't really sing, but he could sell. So I learned how to sell before I knew how to do anything else.
And
So
when did you realize that you have this gift? Because it is an amazing gift.
well, thank you very much. I was in choir in high school, and I guess when it was time to go to college, I took out a piece of yellow lined paper and I wrote, someday I will make money swimming or singing. And so I went to music business school and
Mhm.
got a degree in music business because my father said, don't get a performance degree. What is that? You already know how to perform. And he wasn't
Smart
wrong.
man.
So, yeah, so he wasn't wrong. So I didn't really do theater until after I graduated from college.
So you didn't do theater in school, or like most kids do. What was the first
I
show?
was the president of the theater company when I was in college because I wanted to be like a producer. I wanted to be like Rob Schneider. I wanted to know how the sausage was made. So I did that instead.
And what was the first show that you got a substantial role in?
Nonsense. Thanks for asking.
Danny,
'cause-
Goggin, a good friend.
Thank you, Danny Goggin. Yeah, I did Nonsense 1 and 2, and then we did it in repertory. And I was the 5-person cover, and
Wow.
then I was Robert Ann and covered everybody else. And then I was what we called the big girls, Reverend Mother, Sister Hubert, or Robert Ann, in both Nonsense 1 and Nonsense 2. And Boston being a huge Catholic town, it ran union forever, and then it ran non-union for 3 or 4 years.
So this
And
was the show you got your equity card with?
nope, no, not even. But that was the first time I played, that I made my bones in that show where you would be Robert Ann at the 6 o'clock show in Nonsense 1, and you were Sister Hubert at the 9 o'clock show in Nonsense 2. So I had 10 parts in my head, and it just depended on what, did I have a big crucifix or gold glasses or black glasses or car keys?
And
That's
did you
who
ever
I
make a
was.
mistake?
Oh, sure. My favorite is, it was in the round. So we were standing in the round and, lines, 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 silence. And Sister Hubert looked at me and said, don't you want to say something here? This would be a good time for you to say something. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's my turn. My turn. And I said, my turn, because that's the kind of show it was. And it was, thank you, Danny.
Did you ever work with Danny?
I've worked with Danny, but never for Danny, if that
Okay.
makes sense. I work with Felton, who was his number one guy for a long time. But it helped us with all things ad-libbing and all things keeping the ball in the air no matter what was going on. No, I didn't get part of my master plan as being a character actor. I also figured that out on a piece of paper. My father would have been so pleased. I don't need my equity card until I'm 35, I decided. And I got it at 36. So I was close. But in the city of Boston, where I was for a long time before I hit the road, it wasn't as necessary to have a union card. But although we would get in the car 3 days a week and go to New York and put your name on a piece of paper that was taped outside of, NOLA or any of those other studios. And then I did a lot of non-union tours. I toured for 4 years doing different shows. And then I got my equity card, and then
And you got your equity card with what show?
And the World Goes Round.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Yes.
Yeah, I love
And where
that
did you
show.
do that?
In Boston at the Lyric Stage Company. And it was a
And-
wonderful show.
So many artists, there are a couple of things that I want to address that you just brought up. First of all, there may be one or two people who don't know what a cover is.
Oh, sorry.
And the fact that no, that's okay, that you cover so many people. What is the mindset, number one, for being able to do that? And explain to people what that life is like when you are the cover for like 10 people.
Okay. It's much easier now. Like in My Fair Lady, I just covered the one. But a cover is some people, you could also say I was an understudy, but a cover is someone who's actually in the show at the same time as the person you're understudying. An understudy is like a swing, which is another whole story. So anyway, what I do as a cover, I guess, is I learn my show, the things I need to do to be this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learn all the lines and all the vocal lines and all the blocking for the other people who I cover. And if something happens to the current reigning actor that's in that role, they say, you will be on tonight for 8 o'clock. Please look at your notes. Please look at your blocking. Please sing through the part, and we'll see you at 8 o'clock. And I mean, there had been rehearsal, but once you're rehearsed, then that's how that works. And at least on the road, for example, in My Fair Lady, I understudy Mrs. Higgins, who is Henry Higgins's mother. So I play a part in the show, and every Thursday we have a understudy rehearsal where all of the understudies do the show in whatever city we're in, on whether we're on the actual stage or we're in a rehearsal room, just to make sure we know the lines and we know the blocking, because a big, expensive union touring musical is different from, hey, you're going on tonight. It's, you better be ready, you're going on tonight, because there's no, it's just push them out.
There's
You
no
better know.
back.
Yeah,
It's out there and onward and upward.
yes, it's all about your own homework and your own woodshedding. So you get, there's a discipline of every once in a while, stand in the wings, watch the person that you're supposed to see so that you don't forget where you're supposed to be.
Now,
That person.
so many people, and some of them may be watching right now or listening on the podcast later, so many people aspire in this business to getting the equity card. So once you got your equity card, what changed for the better and what changed for the worse? And I think I know the answer to the second one.
Well, I worked a lot in Boston, and I was able to go to different auditions in New York, which was terrific. For me personally, it didn't, because I waited and I didn't have any, and I would say that this is something that I am nothing if not completely honest with myself. I know that I should never play Cinderella. I know that I know what I'm right for, and I know what I'm probably not right for. I mean, there's a wide latitude, but not really. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, not really. I'm maybe a Mame. I'm definitely a Vera. I'm never a Gooch. You know what I mean? Like, I could be a Mame. I'm probably a Vera.
Right, you have the knowledge to know that.
Right. And well, it saves a lot of unnecessary wear and tear on your heart and your ego. So for me personally, it was okay, because I got there was a time in Boston where they loved a good long running, like a yuck rubber chicken show, like a Nonsense or like a Menopause the Musical. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And so I've been blessed with having a nice long run in being able to sleep in my own bed and hang out with my friends and still have, and best of all, especially after doing the show Menopause the Musical, it was 90 minutes long. So then I could go over and meet Brian at the club afterwards, just take the wig off, shake out my hair, and do 2 sets there till 12:30. So that was really the best of all possible worlds. But
now you said that you were in Provincetown. the night that the agent comes in
Yes.
and says that he wants to take us back to that moment and how that all unfolded and how things began to happen for you.
Well, that fella must have gotten my number from the club owner or something, because he called and he said, "Can I buy you a cup of coffee the next day?" And I said, "Sure." Knowing Provincetown, I knew I was totally fine. And we sat down and had coffee.
And
he
if anyone doesn't know what that means, you're at the wrong show.
"You're in the wrong story. Thank you for playing, though. Thanks for showing up."
Yes.
We had a cup of coffee and he said, "I think I can help you." And I said, "Terrific." And I had never had an agent before. And, everyone should have a starter.
And was
so
he a freelancer or was he with a company?
No, he ran a company. And it just, as it turned out, he wasn't the right fit for me.
Mhm.
But what he was he introduced me to people that were the right fit. And a better magical, bewitched type meeting was us. These two men would come in every summer and they would sit in the back of the club, and they wouldn't, there were requests and then there were our requests. And then one year they came in and I said, "Oh, there are those fun guys. They're fun. They come in every 5 nights out of a 7-night vacation. They would come in and they would sit for hours and they would ask for songs that weren't regular, And so the next year they came in and they came in on the first night and they said, "We would like to hear the following songs this week." And it was like revolutionary costume, because it was the year that Grey Gardens was so big, and Winter in a Summer Town. And these are not easy.
I know. That's true.
This isn't, Day by Day or Night and Day. These are like Brian. There's a lot of work on Brian's part and what have you. And so I learned, I didn't know why, but I made the arduous task of learning these songs in like 2 days. And I said to Brian, "You have to help me. I don't know why." And so I was passing their table after doing it and they stopped. And I said, "Okay, seriously, are you someone? Because these are crazy requests." And one of them ended up being the casting director for Mamma Mia Broadway. And he said, "We're just amazed that and the other guy is a very well-known director, and they're just travel pals, but they came every season. This might have been the second or third season when I finally called them out and said, you have to tell me if you're somebody, because if you're not, I can't work this hard, for a $10 tip. It just crazy." And they said, "No, we're actually, it's funny you should ask." And Rosie in Mamma Mia is I'm sure I know you've had a show. The first time you saw something on stage and said, I am that person. I can do that show. That's my show. That this woman was me. She sings in my register. She has the same sense of humor as I do. And so I chased that show for 6 years, but I got it because they said I was too young in face. And I kept saying, "But I have a license to prove that I'm really the correct age." But I got it, and it doesn't matter. And I was in the closing company on Broadway, and I was in the show for, the national tour, the Las Vegas sit down, and then the Broadway. So I thank that gentleman for coming into that club year after year to hear, because, we sing everything. We sing anything and everything that anybody wants, or we give it a try. And so maybe the fearlessness, the comedy, he saw something, and that really helped a great
Probably
deal.
a silly question to ask you, but do you know how many songs you have in your repertoire with Brian?
Oh, a couple. We just did something last night, and if somebody says something or a story leads into a thought, he'll just look at me, because he can play. If he's ever heard it on the radio, he can at least fake through it so that it can be performed. And we finished something last night, and we've known each other forever. And he just looked at me and he said, I just don't know how you do that. And I really don't know how I do it anymore, because we're not getting any younger. So the hard drive is filling up. But I would say, I used to say 10,000, but I'll say 5,000 lyrics, songs. Just, people try to stump me, and it has to be a certain, I'm not good with all the musical theater canon, but if it's kind of well known, I can maybe do it. Kind of.
So
Don't challenge me.
No, I'm not going to challenge you. But I do want to jump ahead for a
Yes,
moment.
please.
You are going to be performing at the Crown and Anchor.
Yay!
And I will say this because I've been following Marilyn May, who just did 5 sold-out nights there.
Richard, it was such a good show.
Were you there?
Oh, well, because again, I mean, we saw her final show at 54 Below, whenever that was, during the birthday, November, maybe, because I was in rehearsal, and she had, she always has that birthday week that she does, and my husband and I scored tickets to, and she, as everybody knows, she's magic.
Well, you saw her in my opening credits there, and that photograph, I didn't even have that photograph. And about 3 weeks ago, she was one of the first interviews that I did when I first started doing this, and she sent me the nicest card, handwritten.
Of course.
She had taken that photograph and made it. But so what was that experience like being in the audience at her show?
Well, of course, this is we had to go because it was a show. It could have been a puppet show, and I would have gone. But it was Marilyn May. Mm-hmm. And it was poolside, outside. There happened to be, good for you, Marilyn, a full moon. Billy was playing. Her regular guys were playing. It was beautiful. It was beautiful because I couldn't believe we were all in a space watching an artist tell a story. It didn't matter. It just happened to be Marilyn, which made it even more magical because she's 92.
Yes.
And it wasn't hot. I mean, it wasn't cold.
And her hair's a little longer now. She's lost
weight.
She looks great.
She does look great. And I'm so jealous that her hair looked good, and 2, that she's lost weight because I know where her COVID-19 is. But she looked tremendous. But the fact that she was like, you know what? I have this gig. I have this commitment. And I am keeping this engagement for myself just as much as it's for the fans.
And Rick has done an amazing job there, with the safety precautions and everything.
Absolutely.
When did they reach out to you and ask if you wanted to come and do this?
Well,
and are you going to be on the same stage?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe she's left some of her magic. I hope. I hope it hasn't blown away in the cold. But as a matter of fact, I had obviously gone to the show and saw Rick, and Rick and I go back the same amount of time as you and I have gone back. I looked at you. I said I wouldn't, but I did. And the day after the concert, because I was so moved by what a beautiful night it was for those of us in the audience that were getting to commune. I don't always feel that as, you go to 54 all the time, or you go to your whatever all the time. Jaded isn't the right word, but you've had a moving experience. It was a moving experience for a whole new reason, because we were all in it together. She wanted to do good for us. She wanted to do good for herself. We wanted her to be good for our own souls.
Now, I know that she lives in Kansas. Did she talk at all in the show about the coming here and, none of that was there?
She has she had a little break because, as she said, where was I going to go? So she stayed a couple of days and had lunch with the fabulous Suede, who is the 8:00 show the night that we're. I know.
I love Suede.
Yes, we're 6 and she's 8. And if you don't think that is a callback, only at thecrown.com, people. It's going to be, seriously, this night is going to be insane.
I got to look at my calendar.
Yes, October 11th. Because
I'm looking while I'm talking.
We all used to perform at the Crown and Anchor back in the day together. There was Suede, Miss Richfield, Edie the Entertainer, and Jamie Morris, Ryan Landry. We were all there, Randy Roberts. We were all there at the same time, and we would all hang around together. Not all the time, but, So the fact that Suede, who, for those of you that, I don't know how, but She plays the piano, she plays the guitar, she plays the trumpet, and she sings and
Like
scats like
incredible. She
thank
comes,
you.
I live in Rockland County, New York,
Well, so you know.
and she comes here from time to time. And
Yep.
if she, we have friends, they'll say Suede's coming into town, and we all go as a group to see Suede.
You
If
have to.
we've missed this, I'm going to see what I can do about being in LA for you.
See, that just makes it one more reason to
Well,
come. It's
and
going to
you
be
too,
crazy.
you
No,
know.
I mean, so Brian and I do our show, and then we turn the stage over, and Suede is going to be with her band.
Mhm.
So, and it's the last show of the season because it's going to be cold.
Well, I'm
just-
going to put it out there for anyone who's watching.
Mhm.
I'm looking for a house on the beach for 3 days.
Me too. Yeah.
For 3 days. That's pet friendly because I have a Maltese.
Aw,
And so if anybody can help me find that, we'll be in the audience.
there you go. Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a show. So we're very excited about that. And usually, if I'm in a less formal scene,
Mhm.
she'll come up on my stage and we'll do a little something, like the Rat Pack used to do.
Mhm.
Everybody would, Randy Roberts would come in and sing with me and Brian, and Miss Richfield would come through with her scooter and her comedy act, and then Suede would come in either with the trumpet or without the trumpet. The glory days of us all performing in clubs in Provincetown. And so that's why I'm so looking forward to this October 11th date, because
I'm going to try. I really am going to be trying. And I see that, it's Daniel.
I
And
was just going to say that.
it's their anniversary. So it'd be a party.
Oh, honey, they're 40 years.
Wow.
And
Well.
if they don't murder each other before then, and I'm sure they're watching. So I say to you, don't kill each other before then.
Wow. I really
Yeah.
want to be there for you. That's
Well,
great. So
yeah.
when Rick asked you to do this, I mean, did you have any qualms or anything about doing it? Or you just say, no, I'm there?
Well, I started to say, so I commented, I had posted a photo of Marilyn and Billy, and I said something like, boy, this was so good for our soul, and thanks to Rick and Mark Cortale and everybody that put this show together, and it was so nice to see friends in the audience, because I hadn't seen anybody since last summer, and I was a civilian last summer. I didn't perform in P-Town. And then Rick posted and said, how would you like to close out the season? And then people posted all underneath that, like, oh, are you serious? Because I'll buy tickets to that, and I'll buy tickets. So I called him and I said, were you serious? And he said, of course I'm serious. And I said, well, then let me ask Brian.
What is the capacity that they can sell tickets at?
I believe it is between 50 and 60
Okay.
outside. So there'll be 50 to 60 at our show.
I
and there'll
love
be,
Provincetown that time of year.
well,
Oh,
it's beautiful. I will say to you, because the first thing I did when I called David and said I got this job was, you have to make me something that's warm. Because, I would suggest to you to bring a coat and a blanket, because it's like going to a football game. You're sitting outside for an hour, and if you stay for Suede's, you'll be outside for 2 hours. So you need to be warm. You need gloves and all the things. And we're praying that there's no rain, because it's a one-off. This is it. There's no place, they can't move it forward because this is the end of the season. So, but I'm so excited. I can't wait. We've been rehearsing, so we have new material, and I want to support Suede if I can and do anything that she needs us to do. And I think the answer to that is just get off the stage in a timely manner, and I'll see you after the show.
No, but you described earlier that energy in Provincetown of all of the performers, entertainers.
We all love we all support each other, for
everyone
sure.
is supportive of each other.
Yep.
It's a very difficult town because everyone has to, for the most part, maybe you've reached the level where you don't have to do that, but most people are out barking all day long, and then going out and doing an incredible show at night. So it's just, again, an energy in Provincetown that's nowhere else. And are there other shows going on in town at that point, or is this it?
Well, I don't know I'm going to say that as far as I knew all summer, like I know that Miss Richfield, if you could perform outside, then there were shows. I don't know if Richfield is still performing at another location down the street, as we like to say. I don't know if her season goes into October. But this year has been, this is a crazy year. So you had to perform outside, which meant it had to end much earlier than normally because the neighbors, don't you know? You can't be singing show tunes outside if the neighbors don't want to hear it.
Oh, I do that here in Sparkdale.
Exactly.
Mary, I can't believe this, but we're at the end of our show.
Oh, but that's okay.
I absolutely love you, and
I love you too.
I'm going to do everything in my power to see if we can make this happen, because we've been looking to get away, and it sounds like the perfect ideal. I want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. There's nothing like live theater, and we're starving for it. I want to thank you for being here. If you enjoyed the show, please go to my website, which is richardskipper.com, and sign my guest book with your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost me and other markets as well. Oh, cool. I do want to let everyone know that tomorrow afternoon at 6 o'clock, I'm doing a special show with Dr. Judy Bloom, and we're talking about live streaming. I actually have someone from StreamYard that's going to be on the show. So if you enjoyed the show, please sign the guest book. I always end every show by telling everyone to go to your Facebook friends list. Go to today. Let's go to the 7th name that pops up and call that person. Don't text them. Don't email them. Call them. Tell them that you love them and tell them what they mean to you. It's important. As my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together. We just are not in the same boat. So you don't know what anyone else is going through. But I want to end on a good note. So I'm turning it over to you. Do you have any closing remarks that you want to leave everyone with?
Now that you've teared me up? No, just please be kind to each other, because it's really hard. You all know it's hard. If you're an entertainer and you're out there, or you're an artist out there of any kind whatsoever, it is hard as hell right now. So, like Richard said, be kind to each other. And for the love of Mary, Joseph, and the baby, please vote. Please get your old people out to vote. Please drag them out of their houses to vote. That would be so great. And be kind.
And where are we all going to be on October 11th?
We're all going to be at the Crown and Anchor on Commercial Street in Provincetown at 6 o'clock for the show Full Circle. And then for the 8 o'clock show, you're going to see Suede and her band, and she could call it Peanut Butter and Jelly. It's going to be outstanding. Please come to the Crown. Go to www.onlyatthecrown.com.
I love you, Mary.
I love you, Richard. Thank you very much. God bless.
Good night, everyone.